President Trump, or rather former President Trump, is also set to make an appearance in the state today. Now, the key group of voters they're targeting, evangelical or church-going voters. DeSantis saying he will meet with over a dozen pastors today who will be praying over the governor's candidacy, while Mr. Trump is set to arrive in Iowa this afternoon to make some media appearances. Our next guests are here to weigh in on the importance of the evangelical vote among Iowa Republicans. Terry Holt is a former national spokesman for the Bush-Cheney 2004 campaign, and Lauren Wright is an associate research scholar and lecturer in politics and public affairs at Princeton University. Glad to see both of you. Terry, let's start with you. You know, there are a lot of people who would equate evangelicals to the silent majority, saying that was almost synonymous. They're quiet in polling. They're heard from as they vote. And rather than being on media interviews and telling you everything they're going to decide on, some would say the media has really quietly not paid attention to evangelicals as individuals, but rather as a monolith. How important are they as deal makers for these potential candidates, these potential nominees to the GOP nomination?
Well, a larger or role depending on which states that you're in. For example, in Iowa, evangelical voters make up a majority block of the primary voters in a Republican primary. But in New Hampshire, these issues aren't quite traditionally the same way. You see more economic issues that rather than cultural issues play out in a place like New Hampshire. But for Iowa, the evangelical vote is a very crucial vote for anybody who wants to be taken seriously in the Republican primary. And that's why you're going to see these candidates fight hard for that vote with their various takes on the culture wars here in America, on the Supreme Court, on right to life, on a whole range of issues. And you're right, they're not a monolith, but they are all paying attention and they're all ready for their moment in the sun, in the spotlight.
Yeah, and it's true. I mean, more often they're going to be praying about what they're going to be voting for versus speaking out and debating it on live television. Lauren, we talked about right to life with Terry there. Abortion, of course, is going to be a top issue among evangelicals. Mr. Trump not committing right now or so far to a national pro-life legislation, except saying that there are exceptions with abortions that he's considering. But Mr. DeSantis, he's been very vocal, supporting a national ban, recently passing a 6-week abortion ban in Florida. Is this going to be something that DeSantis's campaign can really rest on to separate himself from the former president?
In those early races, yes, but DeSantis will have to pivot away from that position or moderate it if he wants to be the nominee, but especially if he wants to win a national election. You know, these types of decisions early on are informative, and Iowa certainly isn't the be-all, end-all. Just, you know, ask President Mike Huckabee or President Ted Cruz. But it is important in winnowing the field. And so, yes, great if DeSantis pulls out a win, and part of that is fueled by evangelical voters. But he's already got a sizable percentage of the base of conservatives he needs. Eventually, he needs those moderates that are planning on supporting the 1% and 2% candidates that aren't polling as well. And so there's lots of different considerations, but evangelical voters are not the only part of the story, Adrienne.
And what do you mean by that?
Well, there's lots of different voters in Iowa. Evangelical voters are a sizable portion of them. On the Hill last night, we discussed this with an evangelical group leader, and I was surprised to hear that part of what they're really talking about is electability. They have some of the same concerns as other groups that aren't as religious. They want someone who can get Republicans back in the White House. They know that even if they don't agree with Trump's position 100% on abortion, if it's not perfect, he appointed those Supreme Court judges that got them where they are today.
Yeah, and DeSantis has said that he will appoint a 7th conservative justice. Terry, were you going to say something there?
I was just going to weigh in with just a real agreement there that these voters are important at this stage of the process, but as the campaigns go on, their electability will become a major factor. And I think even evangelical voters want to win. They aren't going to support a candidate that they don't think both represents their views and can get a majority vote against Joe Biden in a general election. So electability is a very key element here. And I think that what you see right now is with Donald Trump, you've got a known quantity. Everybody knows who he is. He's been on the ballot. They probably voted for it. Ron DeSantis is a new quantity, but one that is very current and doesn't come with the same baggage. So the big drama here is going to be, will people who supported Donald Trump in the past, will they be inclined to support Ron DeSantis in the future? And I think that's what's at stake. That's how Ron DeSantis is trying to frame this campaign. And you can tell that it's having some effect on Trump. Trump's spending virtually all of his money attacking Ron DeSantis every day of the week. So this is really the core and the heart of what's becoming a very active campaign season.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.